And hello everybody. Yeah, so I am going live tonight because frankly I don't want to edit tonight. Just being brutally honest, I have no desire to do so, and a lot has happened today, and I just don't want to deal with CapCut or anything else. That's about it. But there's a lot to do today, and maybe I'll edit this video tomorrow. But for now, we are live and discussing the crazy shit that went on today, quite frankly, because I finally caught up on some news, and one, there was this, whatever this is. What are we doing? Posting videos? We are trillions of dollars in debt. Doge took a sledgehammer to the federal government, and we're posting videos of the tacky 1980s Russian mobster Oval Office of 24 karat gold, which it probably definitely is not 24 karat gold, let's be honest here. I mean, definitely looks painted. I mean, I guess it has kind of a, palace at Versailles kind of vibe to it, maybe a little bit. Not really, but I think that's what they were going for. And I just love that, Fox News posted that he brought his interior decorator from Mar-a-Lago. Cause yeah. That's just it's so incredibly nuts what we're doing. Every time I see the Oval Office, there's some tacky new gold applique crap on the wall of the Oval Office. Now I'm afraid for the Resolute desk because I literally just read today that he sent the Resolute desk out to be refinished. Now I'm absolutely terrified. What is that going to look like when it comes back? So help me. If he decks the Resolute desk out in gold leaf, I don't even know what I'll do. I think historians all across the country, the JFK Museum may have to go on strike. Honestly, it just possibly may have to. There's really no. It would have to. Yeah, it's definitely got. Hold on. Let me see if I can pull this up here because it is so incredibly 1980s Russian mobster films. Maybe a Bond villain, perhaps. I think maybe it could be. Could definitely be a Bond villain for sure. But it definitely reminds me of that. I think it was a Chrysler video. Hold on, let me grab this. I'm pretty sure it was a Chrysler video. Whereas, was it Ricardo Montalban or somebody talking about fine Corinthian leather? Yes, it was Ricardo Montalban. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's right here.
We've cushioned Cordoba's ride.
Oh, this is going to be great.
With thick rubber mounts at all suspension points.
Our patented transverse front suspension keeps Cordoba's ride luxurious.
Cordoba. To drive it is to experience the pleasure of a truly roadworthy automobile in the Chrysler tradition of luxury. Yes, even rich Corinthian leather. Chrysler engineering achieves fuel economy for the times. Styling in...
Okay. My bad. It was rich Corinthian leather, not fine Corinthian leather. I am so embarrassed right now that I completely got that wrong. is very embarrassing that I got that wrong. It really is. Rich Corinthian leather. How could I forget that? I am a child of the 80s. Ah, it's embarrassing. I have to say the streaming software is a little more finicky than StreamYard, to be honest. Way more finicky. But going back to yeah, there it is. There's the gold. There's the gold we all know and love. Now, rather eventful day because so the Democrats in Congress took the bait. Schumer and Schumer went into the Oval Office. They took the bait. They went for the meeting to avoid the shutdown, which is insane because it's not like any deal was going to be made. They weren't even going to, like, Mike Johnson has not even called Republican members of Congress back. He hasn't scheduled a vote. There was literally nothing for them to do today. There's nothing they would be able to do tomorrow. And they're nuts if they think this is about the shutdown. What do they care about the shutdown? It is a win-win for Donald Trump. Just think about this for a second. So the Supreme Court just handed him a massive victory where he can impound funds. Now, this gets kind of arcane, but I understand that civics is not exactly a well-taught subject anymore. So here's how it works. Congress passes laws. Okay, we all there so far? All right. The president signs those laws into law, or he could veto it. Okay, everybody with me so far? Now, what that means is that the House of Representatives, the People's House, where Mike Johnson is the Speaker, has the exclusive authority. All spending bills and tax bills must originate in the House of Representatives. The founders set it up that way because the House was closest to the people who would be taxed and would have to approve the expenditure of money. So it was set up that way so that the senators, who are the upper house, at the time they were appointed. Yeah, I mean, being a senator was an appointed position in days past. We changed that in order to be more democratic. But they set it up that way so that any taxation or spending was closest to the people, the House of Representatives. Now, we have the House Reapportionment Act of 1920-something that capped the size of the House. Previously, it floated. There would be more representatives based on population. And since we've gotten away from that, that allows the gerrymander to happen, which is the current argument right now, is how states are gerrymandered. But I am drifting off topic on that. Let's go back to the actual shutdown and what's going on here. So spending bills must originate in the House of Representatives. Any spending bill that gets passed then goes to the Senate for their vote, and then it goes to the president to be signed. That's the spending bill. So if the House of Representatives allocates funding for, say, the Department of Energy, and they specifically earmark those funds for the development of nuclear fusion, let's say, and they earmark $100 million for the development of a nuclear fusion reactor. Okay, that then goes to the president and the executive branch to dispense the funds or distribute the funds. That's all the executive branch can do under the Constitution. That is traditionally, for the last 200 years plus, that has been the role of the executive branch. The executive branch manages and disperses the funds allocated by Congress. Until the Supreme Court decided to just upend 200 years of United States precedent and say that the president does not have to follow the expenditure guidelines of Congress. So if Congress earmarks $100 million for the development of a nuclear fusion reactor to the Department of Energy, what the Supreme Court says is that the president doesn't necessarily have to follow that. This flies against every tradition we have when it comes to how the government is funded, how funds are utilized, and the Supreme Court just gave him carte blanche to raid the federal treasury for whatever he wants to use it for. So if Congress says that, for example, let's say Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer get a deal, and Trump says, "Yeah, I agree. I'll allocate $10 billion to fund Medicaid, and reverse the decision on the big beautiful bill." Let's just say in the Oval Office that didn't happen, but let's say it did. They come back, they vote on the bill. Okay. Based on the latest Supreme Court ruling, which didn't get a hearing, it was shadow docket. It was an emergency. There was no hearing. There were no arguments heard. The Supreme Court just issued this like the dictate of a king, that the executive branch can use those funds for whatever they want. So, in essence, you can't negotiate with a bad faith actor. So if the president can use those funds for whatever he wants, then just on the face of it, there is no negotiation, because you can never trust the president to use those funds or honor the deal that he made, particularly this one. So right from the jump, this meeting in the Oval Office was a massive mistake, huge miscalculation, and a bad idea. Epically bad. If only because the Supreme Court has given this president that power to essentially doesn't have to honor any deal that he makes. So now that that is established, let's get into what this means on the government shutdown. So essentially, there will be no continuing resolution so that the government cannot borrow more money. Okay, that's essentially it. Now, despite all the rhetoric that you're going to hear and everything else about how Democrats are shutting the government down, it's the Democrat problem, the Democrats won't work with us to keep the government open, the Democrats are the one that are laying off all the government workers, and et cetera, ad nauseum. This is completely false. Republicans hold the presidency, they hold the House of Representatives, and they hold the Senate. They can pass this without a single Democrat vote. Period. You can look it up. There is no... Democrats are not necessary to this process whatsoever. Pound that into your head. Pound that into your family's head. Say it over and over and over and over and over again so that it sticks. But Democrats have nothing to do with this process. Republicans can pass this all on their own. So why are they not coming to Washington and holding a vote? Well, let's finalize why. Before we get into that, let's go back to this. So the government is going to shut down. Now, Trump is essentially can do whatever he wants. There's no Congress. There's barely a government functioning because of the shutdown. So he essentially has carte blanche to do whatever he wants. That's the danger, is he can do whatever he wants while this is going on. So it's a double-edged sword. Yeah, the government's shut down, but Democrats may want to open it up because at least there's some control over Donald Trump. Now, on the flip side, Congress has shown no willingness to put any stoppers, reins, or any type of, spine, to me, it is very odd and very rare for so many men and women in power to willingly give that up to someone else. Because that's what they're doing. They're giving up their constitutionally appointed power to the executive in a way that the founders never even thought someone would do at all. So that's the danger of this shutdown, and why it's a win-win for Donald Trump any way he goes, because he can allocate whatever he can siphon funding. Let's say he wants to keep the Pentagon open. The Supreme Court just gave him the power in a shutdown to siphon whatever funds remain in the coffers for various agencies and funnel them to the Pentagon to keep it going. That's what he can now do. Previously, in previous shutdowns, like when they shut down the government with Clinton, Barack Obama, they were able to, they couldn't, I should say, siphon funds from various agencies in order to keep the essential agencies going, because those funds, the impoundment was not a thing. Congress had allocated those funds to those agencies, and the president could not redirect them elsewhere. Quite frankly, I think possibly Clinton tried. I think George W. Bush tried, and they all threatened. Congress threatened impeachment. They actually had a backbone back then. So Trump can siphon for a period of time all the money that remains in the federal government to keep his pet agencies open, like ICE, the DOJ, the Pentagon. He can use those funds now in order to keep those going for however long those funds last, without Congress coming back. Now, why is Mike Johnson not even trying to negotiate or even giving a whiff of the fact that he wants the government to not shut down? As most things, it goes back to Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. That's right. Recently in Arizona, a Democrat, Grijalves, I think her name is, she won a special election. She would be the 218th signatory on the resolution to release the Epstein files. Aha. Or, if you've ever seen Coming to America, aha, aha. That's why. Epstein, Epstein, Epstein. That's what it all boils down to. Which, at this point, if you're a logical, sane human being that even can seriously function in society and think, you got to be wondering, what the fuck is in those files? They will literally shut down the federal government to prevent those files from being released. That's some strong juju right there. I'd sip tea, but I don't have any. So yeah, it's just pants on head crazy that these files must be the most radioactive thing on Earth, because they don't even want to release them. Now, let's go into, frankly, I will say this. I did find replacing the auto pen, I did find replacing Biden's photo with the auto pen rather amusing. It is way beneath the dignity of the President of the United States, and I'm sure retribution will be in the offing, and it is extremely, extremely petty. It is petty on toast. Donald Trump is the queen of petty. But based on some reports today, he doesn't even know what's going on. Stephen Miller is really the shadow president, which, given his proclivities, is absolutely mind-bogglingly terrifying, honestly. So you've probably been seeing this play in the stream a little bit. So this
voters left because of all of our woke trans bullshit. Not even black people want to vote for us anymore.
Yeah, we won't play too much of that. You can get the drift. Our president posted that AI video on his social account. That's fantastic. Republican lying about rural hospitals going down because of the bad economy. Well, why is the economy bad? Because of the tariffs. Who put the tariffs in? That'd be Donald Trump. Yeah, and then the Republican defends it was just a joke. Can't you take a joke? What's wrong with a joke? Why can't you take a joke? FYI, this is being said in defense of a president who tried to violate the First Amendment and put government authority squarely on getting rid of a comedian who just told jokes about him. Who can't take a joke, right? 1 hour ago, apparently Jeff Landry is requesting the National Guard to deploy to New Orleans and Baton Rouge. Awesome. Hakeem Jeffries taking
the health care of the American people in the face of an unprecedented Republican assault on all the things: Medicaid, Medicare, the Affordable Care Act. Republicans are closing our hospitals, nursing homes, and community-based health clinics, and have effectively shut down medical.
I know someone who uses all the things a lot, and that he should pay royalties.
Research in the United States of America. Clearly, Donald Trump and Republicans know that they have a very weak position, because they are hurting everyday Americans while continuing to reward their billionaire donors, just like they did in that one big ugly bill with massive tax breaks. Democrats are united in the House and the Senate, and the point that we've made will continue to be clear. We are fighting to lower the high cost of health care, prevent these dramatically increased premiums, copays, and deductibles that will take place in a matter of days unless Republicans are willing to act in terms of renewing the Affordable Care Act tax credits.
Fake video, people are going to see it. They'll see it in other ways. It's easy to find, but it is absolutely.
Get the point there. One amusing thing I did see recently is that somebody on X or Twitter is threatening to reveal Mike Johnson's Grindr profile. I think that would be rather funny, honestly. Pritzker, he's my jam. Let's see what Pritzker's saying.
Your help. Get out your cell phones, record and narrate what you see. Put it on social media. Peacefully ask for badge numbers and identification. Speak up for your neighbors. We need to let the world know that this is happening and that we won't stand for it. I was surprised and pleased to see that a federal agent in New York was put on leave after he was caught throwing a woman to the ground. Good. Good. That would never have happened, though, if it wasn't on camera. So keep documenting. it could make a world of difference for someone, perhaps for all of us. We'll continue to fight this.
I don't know why I get really, for Teddy Roosevelt's my favorite president, and I get a lot of Teddy Roosevelt vibes from Pritzker. Your mileage may vary, but yeah, I do. Because I think if you're going to get someone that's going to maybe, I mean, if we have a presidential election in 3 years, go in there and break up Google and Meta and all and break the back of these tech companies, it's gonna be a guy who has enough money not to care. That was essentially Teddy Roosevelt's superpower. He had enough money that he didn't care about U.S. Steel. He just didn't care. They couldn't bribe him. They couldn't, blackmail him. He was the Rough Rider, for crying out loud. So, before I sign off here, because yeah, I totally didn't want to edit anything tonight, I'm just going to say that I'm going to go... I'm just going to, before I sign off live here, I'm just going to say a little bit about the farmers. Because there's a little bit here. John Thune went on Fox News talking about, or CNN, I forget which, talking about how the farmers in South Dakota are having a record crop of soybeans, and we need to do something to bail them out. All right, so now I'm going to get on a soapbox, because I'm just a poor dirt farmer from a rural area. Family were farmers, family's friends were farmers. It doesn't work that way, and let's break this logic chain down. We put tariffs on the soybeans. I should say, let me back that up a bit. We put tariffs on other countries. They retaliate by dropping soybean contracts. This hurts the farmers. The farmers have nowhere to sell their soybeans. Somehow, they have a record crop. So now, without the export contracts, because the other countries aren't taking our soybeans because we put tariffs on the things that they sell, they no longer want our soybeans. So we are lacking storage on soybeans. So what do? Well, the other countries go to a country, let's call them Margentina, and sign a contract to buy Margentina's soybeans. Okay, Margentina then faces a financial crisis. We offer $50 billion to bail out Margentina so that Margentina can harvest their soybeans to sell to our former business partner that used to buy U.S. soybeans from, say, South Dakota, North Dakota. Now, we're also, because those farmers are struggling due to tariffs and their customers who were buying from them are now buying from the country that we bailed out called Margentina, we are going to bail out our own farmers using the funds of the tariffs of the original issue of us putting tariffs on another country that caused them to cancel the soybean contracts, that caused then the overage and our farmers to need a bailout. But now, let's say we just remove everything. Let's say we remove the initial tariffs. Are the customers going to come back, or are they going to continue buying from Argentina? I think they're going to continue buying from Argentina, which we just bailed out with our money. And we bailed out our farmers. Had we just left things alone, maybe none of this would happen. I know it's a crazy thought experiment, but had we just left things the way they were, the farmers would be happy. We wouldn't have to give them a bailout. We wouldn't have to bail out Argentina. Everybody would be happy. Anyway, peace, everybody.